DC's self-love cooking class. We are so excited to be here with Lily, and we'll get started in just a few moments. First, I wanted to share a little bit more about Comma DC. And also, before I get started, just a quick note, we're hoping to record this video just so we can share it with our awesome audience later and post it online, and you can always access these recipes. But if anyone is uncomfortable with having this recorded, please feel free to just chat me privately. At the bottom of the screen, you'll see the chat function, and we can take care of it. So awesome, let's get started. So I'll tell you a little bit about Comma DC for those of you who are just getting to know us. My name is Sarah, and I'm a volunteer with Comma. At Comma, we aim to build community through immigrant-led experiences and cultural experiences specifically. We do this by providing a platform for immigrants to share their skills through classes and stories, through our storytelling nights with the DC community and nationally. So our classes in the past have ranged from a Sri Lankan cooking class to an Afro-Venezuelan dance class, among many others. So for more information, you're welcome to check out our website. I'll drop it in the chat, and follow us on Facebook and on Instagram because we'd love to stay involved and stay in touch. We've really been looking forward to Lily's class. And in addition, we have a few other events coming up, and you'll see Eventbrite links for that, for those in the future, as well as on our Facebook page. On February 25th, we'll have a Comma storytelling night. And on February 28th, we'll be hosting a pad thai cooking class. So, all right, now for the good stuff. I'm so excited to introduce Lily. Lily Sirk-Hoffman is a learning experience designer and a creative techie who uses cooking and baking as therapy. She's the creator of Dish Meetup, an online food community of folks from all walks of life using cooking to nurture, heal, and feel better. She's originally from the Balkans, and she's been living in the DMV area since 2013. So Lily, welcome. We're so excited to have you. I hope that everyone is ready, whether you're cooking tonight by yourself, with a friend. My Valentine here is my mom, who I won't embarrass her, but she joined us. And so I'm excited that we can both indulge in these delicious lava cakes. So Lily, over to you, and welcome.
Great. Thank you so much, Sarah. I just want to make sure you guys can hear me okay. Good. Perfect. Thank you. All right. So my name is Lily. Thank you, Comma DC, for this treat. I usually do this in my head every day. So for the first time, I'll be actually having people joining me in reality. Usually that music also helps me because that would jam to something. So I appreciate, I would have continued the dance party. But thank you for joining me on a Saturday at Saturday evening and spending it with me. And I really wanted to do lava cakes because I think it's the perfect dessert that you can create for 2 people or 2 servings, and it's great because you can make it fast and it's best eaten fresh. And I don't know about you, but I loved the lava cakes from Trader Joe's. I would buy them at Trader Joe's, and then because with the pandemic, the Trader Joe's has lines and it's becoming a little complicated to go. So I was like, why not try making it myself? So I think, you know, if anyone else is a fan of those lava cakes, we'll make them today. And the cool thing about lava cakes is that the batter that we'll make today, you can put it in the fridge and bake it tomorrow, or you can bake one tonight and eat one with me and bake the second one tomorrow, however you want to, but the lava cakes are best eaten fresh. So it's best when you're eating dinner, you can pop them in the oven 10, 12 minutes, and then you have a fresh dessert. So however you want to do it, but please feel free to join me. So I'll keep talking, but I'm actually going to start the oven now. I'm going to start my oven on 400 Fahrenheit. So we'll recommend you guys do the same. So let's start the oven to 400 Fahrenheit, so that is nice and warm. The other thing that I'll start, then I'll talk more about it, is I'm going to melt my chocolate and butter. So I have here good dark chocolate, again, Trader Joe's. It's the 72% cocoa. I'm sure you guys all know about the pound chocolates at Trader Joe's. So I have 2 ounces, and then I have 4 tablespoons of butter here. So I'm just going to melt it in my microwave. You can do it on the stove as well, or double broil it. However, it's easier for you, but I'm just going to use my microwave. So I'm going to do it real quick. I usually do the soften melt. The reason why I want to do it first is I want that to cool off just a little bit before we add the eggs, so we don't get scrambled eggs. So we're just going to melt it, let it cool a little bit, chat in between, and I'm going to add the eggs. So you should have the ingredients. And I'm starting business immediately, so I'm going to do one more. So I'm just melting right now the chocolate and the butter. And the reason we want to do that is that because we want that chocolate to cool off a little bit before we add the eggs. So it's going to be in just 9 more seconds. So yes, just preheat your ovens to 400 Fahrenheit. And we're just going to melt the butter. So, and the chocolate. All right. Right now, this is all nice and gloopy soupy. So I'm just going to leave it a little bit to cool off. And I want to talk to you about the butter. So I'm using plant-based butter. I usually use either Earth Balance, or I've been testing these new different plant butters that showed up on the market. And before you debate me, and I know there are people who say, Lily, butter is butter. You should not use substitutions or anything. I'm not here to argue. I think if you're using butter, please use butter. I actually have, so melt the butter and chocolate together and just let it cool off just a little bit. So the reason why I use substitute butter is because I have naturally high cholesterol. So exactly. So I do me. There are these standards, there are these rules of what you should be using and how things should be done. I think with home cooking, the only thing that you need to live up to standards is yourself. So it really is about you. I mean, you're your own chef. You cook for yourself. I know I'm demoing things for you, but at the end of the night, I'm going to eat that. So if you want to use plant butter, if you want to use egg substitute, please do you exactly. So I'm a big fan of, using what works for you and just, learning as we go, and see what works for us. So really, for me, cooking, as Sarah said, it is a way of life. But during the pandemic, it started because my parents are in Belgrade. I'm actually wearing a little apron that says Belgrade. My mom is in late 70s. My dad is 81, and they were under a strict lockdown in Belgrade, and there's all these negative news. And really, the only thing that I could ask my mom to do for me is to send me recipes, because that would keep her thoughts away from the negative news, and we would share these recipes that I want. I really do want and enjoy, and it was also a way for her to kind of, as I said, not focus on the negative. And my dad is the same. They both love to cook. They both love to create, and there's something about that nurturing parent-child relationship when you talk about food. And I do the same thing with my sisters that I know are here tonight with me. So we would exchange photos. So it was just one way of, how are we taking care of ourselves? How are we nurturing ourselves? So I discovered that that's culinary therapy. And I feel that, especially during the pandemic, with stress and anxiety, it should be available to all of us. And when, things are out of control, what we make is in our control. So that's how I feel, and besides, it really is like having your own restaurant and you make your own favorite meals, and the only person you need to impress is yourself. So that's a pretty good deal. So yeah. So we melted the butter and chocolate, and you've also started the oven to 400 Fahrenheit. Now, before I start mixing the chocolate, I'm going to talk about the dry ingredients. So right now I have already set up, so it's 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. I have 1 tablespoon of cocoa. I have a little bit of sea salt. And then my secret ingredient is instant coffee. And, if you're making this with kids, or if you don't want to have coffee, you can skip it. But I like the coffee because I learned, that's something that I learned as I went, that it enhances the chocolate flavor. So it doesn't quite give you the coffee flavor. I would love if it did, but it actually just enhances the chocolate flavor. So since I grew up in Europe, I know maybe some of you, I love Nescafe. It is something that we all have in our pantry, and I especially love this new brand that I found. So it's just a finely ground Nescafe. It's called espresso. You just add hot water and it has a little crema on top. It's delicious. So I used 1 tablespoon of this instant coffee, and you can use any regular Nescafe. So that's kind of my little secret ingredient there. So I'm going to mix up all the dry ingredients. Just whisk it away before I use my whisker for the wet ingredients. So I'm just whisking. So I'm just mixing the flour, the cocoa powder, the coffee, and the salt. So I'm just making sure everything is incorporated. Again, great thing about these lava cakes is that you can pre-make the batter, put it in the fridge. Just remember, when you want to eat them, take them out of the fridge, keep them on room temperature for about 30 to 45 minutes, and then just bake them as we will today. So we'll get to that point. So just make sure you mix all your dry ingredients. All right. So now I'm going to mix in the butter and chocolate. By now it's a little cooled off, and that's the reason why we went in certain orders. So I'm just going to mix it in until it's nice and smooth, and all the butter is incorporated with the chocolate.
Lily, have we added in the powdered sugar yet?
So not yet. Nope. Not yet. And that will be the next, because we'll add it to the melted chocolate and butter. Good question. Keep asking me those questions. So speaking of powdered sugar, so I have a 1/4 cup here. Many recipes use more than 1/4 cup. I prefer it less sweet. The reason why is the beauty of lava cakes. You can top them with ice cream. You can top them with more powder cream, powder sugar. You can put fresh fruit. You can drizzle caramel. It's your canvas, right? So I prefer it less sweet. I mean, to be honest, even 1/4 cup sometimes can feel a little sweeter to me. So I do prefer using less sugar. And then if you want, you can add toppings. The other trick that I use with powdered sugar, I actually just blitz and blend regular sugar in my blender. So I just put, let's say if it's 1/4 cup, I use 1/4 cup of regular sugar, granular sugar, and then I just blitz it and get powdered sugar. So I don't buy powdered sugar. So that's your excuse, because I just feel it just sits there, and this way you just get to use it. So we're going to add 1/4 cup of powdered sugar into the chocolate and butter mix. Okay, just whisk that. So I'm just mixing the powdered sugar with the chocolate and butter, and we'll add the eggs next. Okay. All right. I just break in the eggs. You can use another vessel to mix them up if you want to, but it has worked for me just fine. Just adding it to the bowl. I did see a question about, so powdered sugar, just for anyone who's interested, I make my own powdered sugar just by blitzing it in the blender. So I usually put as much of caster sugar that I need, and then I make powdered sugar and use it. So I usually don't store powdered sugar. I just make my own when I need it. All right, so let's add the eggs. The oven is beeping, so it's ready. So I'm gonna add 1 full egg and 1 egg yolk. So I'm just gonna add it directly into the chocolate butter mix. Just make sure when you touch the bowl that it's not hot, and any sugar is fine. Please feel free to use any sugar. So just add the eggs directly to the chocolate and butter mix.
Lily, we have a question asking if confectioner's sugar is okay to use instead of powdered sugar.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for those of us who are less skilled cooks, will you give some tips on adding the egg, just the egg yolk?
Yep. So I'm just going to show you right now what I usually do, how to separate it, is I try to do this. So just break it on the rim. Okay, so until you have a little crack. Then have a vessel where you're going to store the egg white, because there's no food waste. You can make scrambled eggs tomorrow morning. So just save that egg white for breakfast, for good protein breakfast. So when you crack the egg, separate it with your thumbs. What I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the egg yolk on one side of the eggshell and let the yolk, the white drip down. Okay. So then I'm going to move the egg yolk in the other shell and just empty the other one. So hopefully you can see this motion where I'm just flipping from one eggshell to another. And that's how I'm saving the yolk. You can also do this if you're not, squirmish, which means I just took the egg yolk in the palm of my hand, and then just if you spread out your fingers, then the white will slide down. Okay. I'm just going to pop the yolk right into our mix. And I am going to compost. If you wonder what this wonderful blue bin is here, that's my compost bin. So anyone else who's composting, nothing goes to waste. Nothing goes to waste in this house. So what I usually would have a compost bin outside, so we would empty the bin when we need it. So I just rinsed my hands just to make sure it's not slimy. So any questions about the egg yolk?
Just a quick non-egg yolk related question, Lily.
Yeah.
So for those of us who are a little behind, are we at this point, have our chocolate, butter, and dry ingredients been mixed together? Is that where we're at?
So no, we haven't mixed in the dry. So we're going to mix in the dry ingredients at the end. So right now we have the butter, chocolate, powdered sugar, and eggs mixed in together.
Got it. Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. So I'm mixing now the eggs with the chocolate, the butter, and the powdered sugar. So add eggs and mix completely. Mix everything really well. There's no rising agent in this, so there's no baking powder, none of that. It's the eggs that will make it. But again, if you can't have eggs, or if you're worried about, or you can use egg replacer, or you can, there are other recipes out there that are for vegan lava cakes as well. So again, just do you find what works for you. Now in the ingredients list, I didn't add that because I felt like, oh, if I add one more ingredient, I always know when there's a long list of ingredients, sometimes I feel, but I always usually add a little bit of vanilla sugar or vanilla extract. So, or vanilla sugar if you have it. I think in Europe, we grew up with vanilla sugar, so it's more common for us. So I usually just add half a teaspoon or 1 teaspoon. So I'm just going to add a little bit of vanilla, and this is optional, just like the coffee. So I'm just going to add, again, just give it a good mix. All right. So we've mixed the wet ingredients with the powdered sugar. And the reason why we add the sugar to the chocolate and butter mix, because it melts. So it won't give you the crunchy feel. If it does, it's again, still fine. But that's the reason why we don't mix the powdered sugar with the dry ingredients. And then again, the dry ingredients are 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, 1 tablespoon of cocoa. I did add a secret ingredient, which is the Nescafe espresso. I added 1 teaspoon. It's purely optional, and a little bit of salt. It's always good, a little bit of sea salt to add that. Before I mix in, and to also give you some time, the wet with the dry ingredients in, I'm just gonna kind of coat my ramekins. So I have 2 ramekins. So I'm going to use cooking spray. I have a canola cooking spray, so I'm just going to spray them lightly so they come out easily. Okay. I'm going to spray them both. Use the rest of the oil as a moisturizer. All right, and then I'm going to lightly dust them with cocoa. You can also, if you have flavored cocoa, you can do that, or with coffee, ground coffee. I just like that little extra layer, or you can skip this part. So how big are the ramekins? That is a good question. I would say, no, I can't say because I'm probably not gonna guess the right way. So I would say it's probably about a half a cup volume, but how much is that in ounces? You'll have to forgive me. And I promise I can be more specific with that. All right, so I lightly dusted the ramekins, and you can kind of pat them around so just they're nicely coated. So I don't know, it's like maybe perspective is like they can fit into my hands. I have big hands. Don't know if that helps or not. All right, so I'm going to add now the dry ingredients with the wet ingredients. Okay. And really just mix it all in.
Lily, you said we can make it ahead of time and store it in the fridge. Is that pre-mix, like the dry and wet stay separate, or you mix them and then keep it in the fridge?
So you mix them all. So you make the batter, and then you put, so what I'll do is I'm going to fill the ramekins. I'm going to put 1 in the fridge. So I have 1 for tomorrow, and I'm going to bake 1.
Perfect,
Does that make
thanks.
sense? Yeah, so make the batter, and then really up to the baking point. So just fill the ramekins with the batter. Just make sure you cover it so it doesn't dry out in the fridge. And then when you want to use them, remember, set yourself a reminder. It's usually best when you start eating dinner to take them out of the fridge. So they're room temperature, so by the time you're done with dinner, just pop them in the oven and bake them. So right now we're combining the wet and dry ingredients. So everything mixed in that final bowl. Right? It looks beautiful. It's kind of nice and thick, if you can see. There's the consistency. This should also work with gluten-free flour, and since there's no rising, big rise needed, you can also use any of the flour. So I see a question with what should we mix the eggs in? Eggs go mixed in with the wet ingredients. So first the chocolate and the butter, and then we let that cool off just a little bit, and then we add powdered sugar, and then we add the eggs before we add the dry ingredients. Guys, let me know if you have questions. So correct. So 1 whole egg and 1 egg yolk. And just remember to save that egg white for nutritious breakfast.
And why we have to add the powder, the cocoa powder on the bowl?
So the cocoa powder was mixed in with the dry ingredients. So here I had the 2 tablespoons.
No.
So you mixed in.
The bowl that you get ready to put in the oven, you put the powder.
So no, I had
the bowl
a bowl
next
with
to you.
dry ingredients.
Yeah, but the one that you're gonna put the.
You also dusted the ramekin,
I'm
right,
sorry.
Lily?
Yes. Why we need to put that? Why we need to put the
It's
cocoa?
just an extra, so it doesn't stick, but it also, I feel sometimes with spray, it can feel a little textury. I don't know. So I like when there's a layer, another layer of cocoa, but you don't have to do that. You just make sure that there is something, either a spray or butter, so you can flip them. Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. And it's nice if you have flavored cocoa powder, or if you want extra coffee, it just adds kind of a layer of flavor in there. All right, so I'm gonna add the batter into the ramekins now, and we're gonna set them to bake. All right, so I'm gonna split it into 2 since I have 2 ramekins. And again, one of the ramekin I'll bake today, and the other one I'll put in the fridge for tomorrow. So at this point, you can bake one if you like, or as I said, you have a ready dessert for tomorrow. So with this one, just remember again to make sure you leave it, if it's in the fridge, to leave it at room temperature. So it comes to room temperature for at least 30 minutes to 45 minutes, and then bake it, just like we will today. So I have my oven at 400, and I'm going to pop in 1. All right. I'm going to pop in 1 into the oven and set the timer for 12 minutes. 12 minutes, 1, 2. All right. Timer set. I'm going to cover this one. So 1 ramekin goes into the fridge for tomorrow. All right. How many of you are going to bake your lava cakes today? Maybe. All right.
Is it bad if we make just one massive one with all of the batter rather than dividing it into?
No, there's no rules. The only thing though is check at 12 minutes. The important thing is that the sides should be baked. It should be slightly jiggly in the middle. The only thing is the baking time. Okay. So, cupcake pans works great, or silicone cupcake. Yeah, that should do too. The only thing, as I said, the only finicky thing with lava cakes, because I've had them underdone and I had them overdone. Good news is they're both taste amazing. Bad news is they're not Instagram friendly photos. But again, who do you have to impress? Yourself or the world? If it's you, you're going to be one happy, one happy customer. So with lava cakes, it's really the key is not to overbake them. But even if you do, you're going to eat it with gusto. It's not. Nothing is going to go to waste. So that's the good news. So yeah, if you don't have ramekins, use either silicone molds for cupcakes, anything I would say that can go in the oven.
So Lily, Lily, hi.
Yes.
So
Hi.
Asha and I, we are using the silicone molds for cupcakes, and I should say 8 minutes because we have 4. Is that okay? Or
That sounds good. Check at 8 minutes. Yep.
of course. Okay, because it's smaller, and I thought. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other
Lily, can you
questions?
remind us how to store if we're going to keep one for tomorrow? How do we cover it?
Yeah, just cover it with either, I'm using just a little, I have a little plate. Just cover it, just make sure it's covered so it doesn't dry out in the fridge. So whether it's cellophane or aluminum foil or a plate.
Lily, did you ever use maybe almond flour instead of regular flour?
I haven't used it, but I've seen recipes that use it, and I love almond flour. So
I was just curious, maybe this is not too much flour, but maybe make healthier, a little bit more like, and it's not too much. If I try, it doesn't turn good, it's not wasting a lot because it's going only 2 tablespoons of flour.
Of flour. And to be honest, I've seen recipes that use more. So again, I've reduced it, but I think with almond flour would be great. And just to answer, yes, so 12 minutes, if you're using ramekins, 12 minutes, we'll check at 12-minute mark. But yeah, you use, I think almonds, chocolate and almonds are perfect.
When you said that you use plant butter, do you find some that you like more than others? Because I usually buy this one, Earth Balance. You see this? You see? Can you see?
Yep.
Is that one good?
I used that one the most, but to be honest, I've been playing with, I've tried Miyoko's. I saw it at Trader Joe's.
I know which one.
European style. So I've tried that, and there's another Croc Rock Country, something like that. There's just a lot of them now that are more affordable. Very similar to Earth Balance. So keep an eye on those. My only thing is that it doesn't have a lot of trans fat and it doesn't have cholesterol. That's what
in my family, we need to watch out for cholesterol. Unfortunately.
I'm also a lucky winner. It doesn't take a lot for me for the cholesterol to go up, and I watch what I eat, and it's just genetic. It's just our luck. You're welcome. Just our luck. Yeah, sometimes we're dealt cards that we don't want.
Lily, I know we have I know we have a few minutes while our lava cakes are baking, and I'll open it up for questions that folks might want to ask you. And maybe we can start with, if you'd be willing to share a little bit more about your background and your story and about Dish Meetup as well.
Sure. So my background, so I came to United States in 2001. So it's going to be in September. So it's going to be 20 years for me, 20 years kind of living in one place and 20 years living in this country. So I was born in Macedonia, but I was raised in Serbia, in Belgrade, Serbia. My parents still live in Belgrade. And in the US, I've lived in Seattle. I lived in Phoenix, Arizona, and now I'm in just outside of DC in Silver Spring, Maryland. So I like extremes, I guess. But I started with Washington State, and now I'm in DC, and I love it here because of the diversity. So I think what Comma DC is doing is just wonderful and amazing. And I found my spot. I started growing my roots here. So my husband, who is Polish, we really enjoy it here and love it. So I'm not professional therapist. I'm not nutritionist. I'm not, I really live this, I live it kind of as my lifestyle. And I wanted to start Dish Meetup because I wanted to focus on the process of cooking and being present. I really find that it helps me kind of staying focused, and especially if I'm stressed, if I focus on ingredients and chopping and following a recipe, my mind is not busy with other thoughts. So it really is, in a way, a sort of meditation and being in the present. Because if you're not in the present where you're chopping things, you can hurt yourself, right? So I like it because it's also a creative outlet for me, because as I mentioned, it's like, whose standards do you have to live up to? Only my own. So I really enjoy cooking for myself, and it's a way of self-care. It's a way of, especially on days when I don't feel like it, to show up for myself and make something that, can lift my spirits and give me energy, and just help me both mentally and physically. And I really feel that cooking as an act is much more than what we eat. So I really wanted to bring people who feel the same, who want to invest in themselves and start looking at cooking more from that side, rather than, oh, here's a dish, a professional dish that you can create. I sometimes feel, actually, when we learn from each other and we're all amateurs, that it gives us more confidence, and it gives us some ideas of what we can create in our own space. So it's really, I think it's that being in control that has really helped me. And I was wondering if there are others who feel the same like I do. Oh, absolutely. We made, I see a question, do you do pizzas? We just made one yesterday. We usually do it every 2 weeks. That's kind of our pizza day. So that's one of our things. And so we both try. I mean, as I said, my husband is Polish, so we would do pierogi. It's also something he loves cooking too. So we try to stay connected to our tradition, to our culture, to our families. So it's really more, it's just the way of life. So I really hope, culinary therapy, and as I said, through Dish Meetup, will be available to all, just because we're all in this together. So separately in our own homes, but so far I've really enjoyed what the community has shared and the topics we discuss. So I really hope you'll have a chance to check it out and see if it's something for you that you would like to join. Because I really think the number one thing is for you to take care of yourself. And then Dish Meetup is just a space where, if you need extra support, advice, just read about food. I can talk about food for days. It's just something that relaxes me. and just share and as I said, inspire others. But it's not a competition. It's not who makes it best. It's not about the right or the wrong way of making it. It's just if it brings you joy, if it fills your cup, just make it. Just make it. Any other questions that I can answer? We have about 2 minutes. Maybe I'll take a peek real quick at them. If, as I said, the most important thing with lava cakes is that it's, well, mine looks actually pretty. I'm gonna stop at 10. Turn it off. When it's done, I don't know if you guys can see it. So the sides are cooked. You want the middle to still feel a little soft. I'm gonna leave it in the ramekin for about a minute before I flip it. So, and the reason is just so it sets a little bit. So leave it in the ramekin for 1 minute. Don't leave it for too long. If you leave it for too long, it's gonna continue cooking. Okay, so 1 or 2 minutes, just make sure. So I'm just gonna wait 1 minute before I flip it. Any other questions? How are you guys doing? Do you want to check on your lava cakes? Why don't you do that real quick? And really, you're going to end up with an amazing dessert. Whether it's undercooked or overcooked, it's okay. Please do not get sucked into it. Doesn't look like mine or X, Y, and Z's. It doesn't matter. As I said, you are your own customer. You are your own chef. You're going to create something amazing that is for you. You really spent this time. So the color is, I don't know how to specifically. So I would say it's a light brown. I don't know if you can see it. So it's not too dark, but I can definitely feel that is a little, there's still a little jiggle. So what I'll do is I will loosen up the edges just to make sure that it will come out. So I'm just going to use a knife. Make sure, you use a glove. I just use the knife to loosen up, again, the edges. And use a plate. Just do this carefully. So I just flipped it. Grab a little spoon. Let's see what we made. All right. Just a lava cake. Here's what mine looks like. Okay. Moment of truth. Whether this will go on YouTube or not, ooh, I think we have a winner. All right, guys. So mine is oozing, but I stopped it at 10. Okay. Here it is. Ooh, nailed it. We can put this, yes, publicly. Smells amazing.
Quick question. Yours looks amazing. We're at about 10, 11 minutes as well. What are we looking for when we go in there to see if we need a couple more minutes?
So just make sure that the sides are baked and that it's not, that it has a little jiggle in the middle. So let's say if I touch the top, it kind of feels a little jiggly, but it's not raw. So, if it has a little film, so I would take it out.
Okay.
If it does. Yeah. Well, you don't mind. But this is not self-love. I don't know what it is. Plant butter, egg substitutes. I've used it all. Try with almond flour. If you do, let me know. I love chocolate and almond. Top it with strawberries, kiwi, mango, jam, caramel, ice cream. It doesn't matter. The nice thing is, again, I just baked one. I'm gonna have one. I'm gonna make the second one tomorrow. But the nice thing with these desserts, I mean, you see how long it took us to make. If you have that craving and you want to do something for yourself, and it's one of those days, just make this. It's a winner in my book. Any other questions, guys? I know it's 7:20, so we're a little over time. How did yours turn out? Can I hear for those who baked?
Really, mine turned out delicious, and it's oozing from the center. It's really good. So thank you so much for sharing. I'm not a good baker, so it's my first time really making something like this. And oh my God, I can't stop eating it. So thank you so much.
I'm gonna do a little happy dance here because that makes me so happy. Thank you for joining, and especially, not being a baker, there's really no prerequisites to cook for yourself. So, but thank you guys for joining me. Have a wonderful Valentine's Day tomorrow, whether you celebrate or not. Just, give yourself a giant big hug, make yourself some lava cake, and let me know how yours turned out. But please check out Dish Meetup and join us if that's something that resonates with you. But
are you gonna change the camera?
I love doing this.
Thank you, Lily, so much. And I'll post, I put Dish Meetup's information in the chat. I'm going to put Comma DC's information there as well. And folks, if you have any more questions for Lily, please feel free to stay on, ask her a couple more questions while you enjoy your lava cakes. And thank you for coming.
Thank you.
How is it? Is it good? Yeah. She says it's
good. I'm eavesdropping here, like, is it good? Is it? It's like, hi.
Thank you so much. My daughter and I participated in this together, and we had a fabulous experience. And as you can see, our lava cake is oozing also.
Yay!
So we really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, Lily. It turned out good. Excellent.
Oh, good. Happy to hear that.
I have one question. How do we support Karma DC if we don't live in DC? What are our options? Is it around donations or volunteering? I would love to learn more.
Thank you so much for asking. We are a all volunteer run organization, and we are a small nonprofit. So we welcome any donations that can come through our website that I just put in the chat, and we so greatly appreciate them. Thanks for asking. All our donations go, of course, directly to our classes. Wonderful. Any more questions for Lily? Oh, I think we have a question about whether we can make it without coffee.
Absolutely. Coffee is absolutely optional. You do not have to use it at all. Yeah, no need.
So Lily, quick question for you. When we flipped our ramekin over into the plate just to take these guys out, a little bit was already sort of oozing out before we cut it open. So does that mean that we're a little undercooked? Is that a sign that we needed a little bit more time? Okay.
Just add a minute next time. Yep.
Okay. Perfect.
I had that happen to me yesterday. So yeah. Just add 1 more minute and I promise you, and or you can leave it in the ramekin just a little bit longer because it keeps cooking. The ramekin is still hot. So just keep it a little bit longer.
Got it.
But it's delicious. I mean, you're gonna eat that.
we're definitely gonna eat them for sure.
I was eating the plain batter, Lily. So this is definitely
you're gonna lick the plate. Yeah, no, everything is gonna be gone. So.
We actually do have our second guy already still in the ramekin. So he's still cooking, which is good.
Okay, perfect. And then just see. I mean, it's all really by feel and the size of the ramekin, and that's kind of It's kind of the nature of baking. It's all different ovens and different temperatures. So if you accept that side of life, you'll be fine in the kitchen as well. So life is unpredictable.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lily. And if there's any more questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful night.
Thank you,
Thank
Lily.
you.
Take care.
Thank you,
Valentine's
guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye bye.